Immigration in America has long been a pressing and hot-button issue, with members of both political parties pulling theatrics to sway voters in their favor. This has consisted of photo ops at the border, erroneous accusations about Border Patrol officers, and jokes made on the immigrants' behalf. However, this year has gone too far. In the latest political stunt, Republican governors are resorting to using undocumented immigrants as political pawns in a game of chess to make a statement by busing and flying undocumented immigrants to other states. Texas Governor Greg Abbott was the first one to follow through with the scheme. In April of 2022, Governor Abbott announced the new and drastic tactic of sending undocumented immigrants directly to D.C. because he claims the Biden administration has incentivized undocumented immigrants to come to the United States due to the relaxed stance on immigration. As recently as September, the number of immigrants Mr. Abbott has sent to Washington, D.C. is over 7,700. Despite this tactic being unheard of, unprecedented, and arguably inhumane, it has not stopped other Republican governors from following suit. In another recent exploit, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida allocated over $12 million for spending undocumented immigrants out of Florida. Ironically, in September, Mr. DeSantis used that money to fly 48 migrants from another state, Texas, to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. These inhumane actions brought on by the governors show how little the U.S. has learned from its past regarding the ill treatment of people with different ethnicities. Furthermore, the importance of these actions carry large implications. For instance, non-border states without the money or resources that border states have allocated for such events are ill-equipped to provide the necessary care to immigrants in their local communities, creating an unsafe environment for all involved. These actions taking place without holding the governors accountable is establishing dangerous precedents in the way to handle undocumented immigration. When I initially read the states were shipping people from one state to another, I was web surfing on my phone and believed that I may have stumbled onto a satire news site like The Onion. However, I was not. After realizing that these actions did occur, I immediately recognized it to be inhumane to use people as pawns for one's own advancement of their own political agenda. In essence, I do not believe that the means justify the ends, so to speak. After all, it did not change the way the border is being handled by the Biden administration. In fact, it has only gotten worse as people are being sent to areas that are not ready to take undocumented immigrants since they do not have the funds to decide to do so. After my initial reaction, I spent time contemplating the different perspectives of the border states and the reasons for why these actions were carried out. However, despite being able to understand why they believe it was fair to not give a warning, since they themselves do not receive warnings, it boils down to the idea that two wrongs do not make a right, and my opinion has not changed. As a member of the Christian faith, I believe that all men and women are created equal in the eyes of God, and we should treat all people with love and compassion, even your enemies. In my neighborhood growing up, there's a lot of overt racism. In fact, our community pool was nearly shut down because parents were going to take away their memberships, and all black men was allowed to perform. Despite growing up around people like that, my father instilled Christian values in me that all people, regardless of any differences, were worth standing up for. Therefore, when I see such atrocious actions taken by the governors, I find it inhumane and morally reprehensible, making it my duty to stand up as I was taught. One of the core principles of Christianity is treating people how you want to be treated. Once again, I do not agree with the tactic employed by the governors of the two wrongs do not make a right. This current event relates to several key aspects of multiculturalism that were seemingly ignored. The most relevant aspect is understanding the interpersonal communication model, more specifically how context can quickly become noise when there was a misunderstanding. On the other hand, there are states that are suffering from the difficulties that come with undocumented immigration and an unsecure border that was ignored or downplayed by the non-border states in the Biden administration. Neither state was able to understand the other's context, and instead of trying to work together to understand each other, both sides escalated to this climatic response. With the media being as polarizing as it is no surprise that both sides are hurling severe accusations at one another, while neither side attempted to understand the other's context. Another dominant aspect that likely played a role in this political stunt is that both sides were using destructive criticism where people listen with the attempt to prove the other wrong and prove their own superiority. However, in issues that affect policy, tactics such as constructive communication, where you listen to understand and take away a greater realization of the other's perspective, is more likely to produce and make meaningful change. The final straw that likely broke the back of the Republicans deals with the two upper levels of the ecological model of human development. One of the largest issues the United States faces is the interaction of the exosystem, the laws and institutions, and the macrosystem, ideas and culture of the public. The macrosystem and exosystem that is founded at the state level varies largely based on each state. For example, California and Texas are opposite in almost every way, and each state creates their own laws and institutions that make up the exosystem based on their beliefs and ideas that make up the macrosystem. Issues arise from the federal government being unable to develop national laws that can account for the state's variation at their individual macro levels. Since the ideas and beliefs held at the state level are not consistent with one another at the national level, the greatest issue is when developing laws and institutions that make up the exosystem of the nation, adding unnecessary fuel that leads to people to make poor decisions, such as in this case. However wrong this may have been, or one's thoughts on the topic, everyone is still able to help the cause. You can call your local representatives in Congress to hold the governors accountable. You can also support charities that are aiming to help care for the immigrants and their families. Support can be shown by donating to local charities or being a volunteer to help people in need. Finally, by continuing to raise awareness of this inhumane tactic, we are more likely to stop it from happening in the future.